Welcome to the Brand Groupies podcast. My name is Carrie Bellog, your host and founder of Brand Groupies. Launched in 2018, this podcast shines a spotlight on the ultimate insiders, the Brand Groupies, powering the ever-evolving built world. Each episode dives into the stories, passion, and creativity driving national leaders in architecture, design, real estate, and beyond. As a women-owned strategic communications agency, we've spotlighted visionary executives for over a decade, leveraging social media, public relations, and podcasting as an interconnected ecosystem to build brand visibility and drive business growth. We make our clients impossible to ignore. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Groupies podcast. Today on the show, we're joined by a very special guest, Alex Stein. Alex is the head of social media at M18 Public Relations under the Orchestra umbrella. And M18 is a full-service public relations company specializing in the intersecting fields of hospitality, real estate, and design. Alex has spent over 15 years leading social media and content strategies for Grammy award-winning musicians, destination restaurants and hotels, and top lifestyle brands. His photography has been featured in the New York Times, Vogue, GQ, Forbes, and Architectural Digest. But this one's personal, as Alex and I go way back. I was, close with his brother and actually was there when he landed his first job in music. So I have watched his career evolve, and I'm always so impressed by you, Alex, from shooting concerts and bands to really carving out a niche in the intersection of creativity and strategy. So, right now he's a social media strategist, photographer, and longtime creative at the forefront of digital storytelling. So welcome, Alex, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here, and it's great to be able to see you and tell all the stories of going way back.
I know. I can't believe it. So, of course, I've admired you. I think I've reached out to you, and social media was just starting. And I was saying, Alex, how far in advance do you need to plan your posts? I remember going to you with some, early on questions back in the day when it started. But what first drew you to photography and social media? And, how did those two paths meet in your career?
Yeah, great question. So really for me, photography just came out of a love of music and live music in particular. And throughout my childhood had gone to a number of different concerts. And I think in the very early days, and this will definitely date things, but to be able to bring a wind-up disposable camera to a concert and have any photo come out that was somewhat legible was such a thrilling moment to me. And when I went to college at Elon, I for the first time was kind of on my own, left to my own devices, and saw how many different artists would come through North Carolina, and had gotten my first somewhat decent camera. So really just started bringing that along with me to shows. And it was I was kind of self-taught in it, and it was a really good learning ground with all the movement and changing the lighting. So I really did that throughout my time in college. And then when I graduated and moved to New York, I got my first job, I think 3 days before I graduated. So went right into things. But it was a very different story in New York, where immediately you needed a press pass, and I didn't have any real contacts in the industry. So luckily, when I was in college, had met some artists and stayed in touch with them. So through their managers, were able to get my first press passes and dive into things in that way, and kind of ground away at it for a bit, and then landed a consistent role at Pitchfork to cover live concerts for them. And right around the same time, I had started my first job, which you introed me to,
Oh, that's right.
and when when Primary Wave had started, I think there was maybe like 9 employees total. So
Wow.
was very small. I was by far the youngest one and most inexperienced one at the company. But throughout my time at Elon, I had done internships at Columbia Records. Um,
Oh.
2007 was a tough time to be getting into the record
Yeah.
industry. So each summer that I went back, I kind of saw departments diminish more and more. But one of my first summers there, somebody else in the intern bay had discovered an artist on MySpace and then had gotten a job doing A&R at the label. So I was like, oh, cool.
Nice.
This thing that I play around on and chat with friends in high school and college on can lead to these things. And so when I was at Primary Wave for a bit, they hired somebody to be the head of digital marketing. And
Mhm.
essentially, he walked in one day and was like, "You're young. You must know how to use social media."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I definitely do." And he's like, "Great. We just signed Def Leppard, and that's going to be our first client."
Wow.
So Def Leppard was my start in
Wow.
social. And
Incredible.
yeah. So throughout that, though, it was like already given my background with live music photography, it just integrated
Mhm.
super well into what I was doing. And just was lucky enough to be able to evolve that throughout my career to every industry that I touched.
Awesome. And didn't you have a photo go viral, or am I making that up?
I did, yeah. So my first like actual published photo was through getting press access to this concert that was on Governor's Island, and I saw that M.I.A was the headliner,
Mm.
and this South African duo called D Antwoord was like the middle, and I had known somebody in Sleigh Bells, and so reached out to them to try and get a press pass for this. And
Mhm.
I remember going into it, I'd shot on Nikon in college and learned Canon was better, so I traded everything that I had at the time towards buying a used Canon body, and I still had to pay like
Yeah.
$700 for that. And
Oh my gosh.
luckily, my brother had a Canon lens, so I hooked that on, and we went to Governor's Island and shot the first two artists. And it was my first time being in a big photo pit. And
Yeah.
when M.I.A came on to headline, I remember it was raining, there was thunder in the area. Um, just things were running behind, so she already seemed to be a bit off put by the whole thing. And
Okay.
to this day, I'll never know why, but in this sea of like 30 photographers, she just like leaned down and spit into my camera.
Oh
And
my.
I was the most excited person to ever be spit on, and just like checked and saw that I had the photos and was like, okay, this is great. And somebody I worked with at Primary Wave, his name was Ryan Barkin, was just a fantastic kind of mentor to me. And he had been a music photographer for Brooklyn Vegan. I gave him the rundown of what I had captured. He connected me to Dave, who ran that site, who was like, yes, we'll absolutely run these. And on Monday, it kind of blew up because Perez Hilton like lifted the story, and
Yeah.
it built from there. But that entire thing like built my photo career. After
Wow.
that, I had a relationship with the Huffington Post to shoot live music, and had read Pitchfork all throughout high school and college. And so that was kind of my white whale, and eventually submitted enough that they were like, please leave us alone. Your photos are good enough. We'll use you. So
Oh, that's such an awesome story.
thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
So now, you've been leading social media strategies for some incredible high profile clients. What does it really take today, to build a social presence that really, cuts through the noise?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you have to do exactly that and cut through the noise. In the earlier days of it, it was this great, just open space where you could message all of your followers simultaneously. There was everything was in timeline order, and there were such a smaller amount of brands in the space and creating content.
Mhm.
And then as I saw it evolve, And once I stepped out of music, I started working with restaurants. So a way to stand out in that field was to incorporate professional photography, and then everyone got along to that. So I would say it's really being able to forecast what is next and new. I always say to clients that you really can't have the right recipe to just say, I'm going to walk in the door and immediately change your social and be really successful in that. I think it does take that trial and error, and that just trust in a social team to test new formats. Um, Definitely now, I would say the platforms are a bit more transparent about what's going to get priority in the algorithm. But really, I would say from a brand perspective, it takes looking at what influencers and creators are doing on their own, because that is typically the best barometer for what's going to then go to the brand side. And I would
Sure.
say last part of that is to get in on that before it becomes cringy and out of date.
As my boys call me cringy sometimes. Teen boys. That makes a lot of sense, and it's always evolving, so it's always like, what's next? And you're like you said, trial and error and things, you really have to evolve as the channels evolve, and makes a lot of sense. So how do you balance creating something visually compelling, but making sure it actually performs?
Yeah, really, really good question as well. And I would say it has to be a mix. It has to something I saw. I was the first social editor at the publication Gear Patrol, and really what drew me to that publication in the first place was these very high quality visuals and this professional aesthetic that had been established by Andrew Haynes and their branding team. And where we kind of ran into issues was translating that to the social space. And we had even done a lot of research around the time that Instagram stories first were able to host video content, and had figured out the exact specs to cut 4K video to be able to upload in that way, and had all of our color grading and aesthetic there. And we would post these, what I found were some of the most beautiful Instagram stories I've ever seen, but they hardly performed.
Mhm.
People weren't really watching, they were swiping away. It was too long and kind of drawn out and didn't really
Mhm.
work for the format. Whereas we would have somebody on the site at like an Amazon product release, and they would go there
Yeah.
and do everything in app and post that, and it did 100x the numbers that our
Wow.
really curated story did. So I would say it's all about like finding the way to walk the right balance. And now what I've seen in the algorithm that's performing best on Instagram in particular is doing these carousel slide posts with some text on them. So I
Mhm.
think there is a way to do that within a brand that is super beautiful. Someone on my team did this recently for a residential real estate account, and somewhat just organically it blew up, and got like over 100,000 views and the most engagement that the account has seen to date. And it was just by testing out this format, but still
Mhm.
keeping with the overall brand aesthetic and just translating that into what is performing right now. And so I think it's always
Yeah.
about testing the waters in that way.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great, great feedback. We deal with architecture, design, real estate clients, and some of them, want
Mhm.
polished, high end design, but it's, you also want the raw behind the scenes, authentic storytelling, and so it's that line of, what makes sense. But you're right, really just trying different things and seeing, what the audience relates to.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's
And
a good point.
yeah, I would just say too that in communicating with clients a lot of the time, um, they're not necessarily in it on the day to day. So,
Mm.
where I find a good line of delineation is teaching them just the difference between what a brand account is and should look like, and what a creator or personal account would look like. Because
Mm.
many times they might come with that expectation, or you'll hear feedback like, well, I posted a photo of me and my kids, and that got 10 times the engagement that our brand
Yeah.
post got. And trying
Yes.
to break down how the audience differs, how the
Yes.
expectation differs, and just how the algorithms even treat that type of content
Sure, sure.
is
That's
always
a good
important.
that's a good point. When you first start working with a brand, what's one common mistake you always see in how they approach content or social media? I think you just talked a little bit about that,
Yeah,
the education process.
I would say definitely the education process. And a lot of times, if we do come onto an account where they have already established a posting cadence and have put content out for a while, what I see the most is that it's just incredibly disjointed. There's no
Mhm.
cohesive aesthetic or voice to the account. So it a lot of times what we'll hear from a client is that the social media accounts have kind of been like the ugly stepchild, and it's whoever has time for them has
Yes.
jumped in at different
Sally in
points.
accounting. Sorry, Sally in accounting, we call her. She
Yeah,
does the social at most of our
exactly.
industry brands.
And so, yeah, a lot of times you'll definitely feel that, and you'll be like, well, no one was really giving this the proper attention. And you might see something that has stood out that was really successful, but then no other posts kind of replicated in that same fashion. And what I have seen as well is that really, even to date, if an account hasn't been super successful, but there is a post or two that stands out in there, it's learning from the elements that are in those posts. Those are going to be indicators of future success to what is going to resonate with the audience and help to grow that audience as well. So it could be something incredibly personal to the brand where they were able to get a bit deeper and speak with emotion and reach that human element that could be really important, or it could be a brand that just has really nice aesthetics and it's very sleek and kind of more of a teasery type of caption that might do really well also. Definitely just depends on brand to brand.
Yeah, no, very good points. We're taking notes as you talk. Such good feedback. So, you've worked with destination restaurants and hotels in particular, industries where visuals are everything. What are some of the standout clients that you've had in hospitality, and what are the brands that do it really well out there that you're working with?
Yeah, great question. So in terms of hospitality clients, we at M18, prior to when I joined, we M18 as an agency had always had residential real estate on one side and then
Hmm.
hotels and hospitality on the other. And the two were kind of more split in 5 years ago when I joined the company, but now have really come together more and more. And the social department before I started was all within real estate itself. And
Hmm.
I had a good background in the restaurant side in particular of things. And when we had joined, uh, after working with them on the hotel launch and opening for PR, Tavo Summer came to us with Innis, that is his
Awesome.
upstate destination, and gave us an opportunity to pitch them for
Wow.
social. And that was an incredible, just kind of win for me because I had always admired Tavo and what he had done with
Yeah.
his brands in the city, and then seeing what he was doing upstate was really exciting to me. So um, it just took kind of showing him some of the work that I had done over the
Hmm.
years since he and I had first connected years prior, and him giving us the trust to also carry through on the social side what we had done for PR.
Cool.
So a really nice element of that property is his design sense that is pervasive throughout it, and being able
Sure.
to lean into those different elements. And we've even seen over the years the amount of DMs that we get about a specific paint color or a piece of furniture. It really gets that deep into it. Um,
Yeah.
but the hotel also like just has uh, such reverence on its own, and it's in a very unique place as a hospitality brand where so many top influencers, celebrities, high profile people with large followings of their own tend to come to the hotel
Hmm.
anyways. So we've never been really reliant on influencer stays. And
Yeah,
people
great.
are willing and ready to tag the accounts and create beautiful content as well. So
Sure.
really what we've tried to do there is make an incredibly beautiful aesthetic landing page that really acts as like this living breathing extension of a website, and populate that with as much real-time content as we can,
Hmm.
working with the on-site team. And then my own team will go up and do content shoots. So I've done the photo aspect, and we have a videographer on my team as well to be able to
Yeah,
supplement that way. So yeah, I would say it's really about creating a gorgeous page that people would want to follow on their own anyways, and then
sure.
as influencers or celebrities that they follow have visited the page, it ties everything together. So
Very
that's
cool.
been a fantastic one.
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome. I was going to also ask you how, PR has shifted so much over the years, and I started in PR decades ago, and
Yeah.
how it's changed. And I feel like even just a few years ago, we had PR and social, and then we called something SOPR, like so PR, because
Uh-huh.
there was such an intersection. Now it's just like social is under PR, it's just all evolving. How do you set up your teams at M18? Is it completely separate, or how do you, or when and do you collaborate with the other PR teams, because it crosses over so much?
Yeah, great question. So I would say even initially when prior to joining M18, I would have been pretty hesitant about joining a PR company
Yes.
because I had worked on the other side of them throughout my career. I had worked in consulting with a hospitality PR company when I was doing restaurant social media, and would see people from the PR side who didn't really speak the language of social dictating
Hmm.
what the social team was doing. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to put an end to that. And it really, from my experience, just be able to communicate how different of a language it is. And what messaging you're putting in a press release would be the most off-putting thing to anyone on social. And I think it's gotten more and more in that realm over the years, where people really don't want to feel like they're being sold to on social, wants to feel like
Hmm.
this organic kind of natural uh, brand communication that as you've seen so many top brands go to, it's more friendly or memeified,
Yeah.
and it's trying to reach people from an emotional standpoint. Whereas I found a lot of the PR messaging could be more cold and just direct and straightforward as it needs to
Yeah.
be to get the attention of the journalist. So
Yeah.
I've always worked to separate that, but to always be on the same timeline as PR, to have a great open dialogue between our two teams so that each knows what the other is doing. We're never stepping on the toes of an embargo or
Sure.
an official announcement. We always want to let PR take the lead with it and get the fantastic stories that they do, and then translate that into social. And I think that that works so much more because PR has their own lane and so many of their own fires to put out and client headaches to deal
Yes.
with, and it's a totally different language that we're speaking. But I think
Yeah.
from the start at M18, I wanted to make it clear we're all on the same team, we're all trying to
Yeah.
communicate the same message and have the same goal in mind, which is presenting the brand to its best light. And I think more and more, I mean, definitely internally, it's not a problem. We collaborate not only across our client accounts, but across Orchestra as a whole, and get to become more of a singular team under that umbrella, anyways. But yeah, it's really just going through and explaining how what we do is different, and being able to showcase that. And something that's been incredibly important for me in leading a team and building a team and being a manager throughout my career is that I have a unique position in that I have worked in social media as long as there have been social media titles.
Yeah.
And a lot of times earlier in my career, there was no one who understood exactly what I was doing. It was often portrayed as you're
Uh-huh.
just making a post. Uh,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it would be managing accounts of a million plus followers of
Wow.
public figures and be like, it's more than just a post.
It's a
How many
little
people are
bit.
going to see this? And so there was that kind of understanding of it,
Mhm.
or um, yeah, from a brand perspective too, the actual value might not have been seen. I mean, salaries were wildly low for so many positions that I had, but I really believed in the field and the future of it, and so wanted to keep going in that. And when I got to a position to start managing people, I always wanted to create the environment that I would have loved
Mhm.
coming through it and
Oh, I
learning
love it.
from somebody who's done every part of the job and continues to, because I feel like somebody coming in with a background that doesn't speak the language is never fully going to get
Mhm.
the kind of dedication that it takes. And so
Yeah.
yeah, that's always been really important to me, is to make sure that everyone on my team feels heard and seen, and that the
Yeah.
level of work that they do is visible to everyone else within the company as well. I've
Mm.
definitely wanted to advocate for anyone who's coming up in their career and continues to work on this side, because it can still feel like passed over, but
Yes.
there's so much that goes into it, and
Yeah.
more it's just you become the de facto marketing team for a smaller brand.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that, Alex. That's so cool to hear. And you were at the beginning before there were titles, right? In
Yeah,
social media.
exactly.
That's so true. And I have a quick question just because I'm curious how your team is set up because, we've through the years, it's always like you have someone doing the creative and the captions, you
Hmm.
have someone doing community management. What like structure have you found to be the most effective? Obviously, it depends on your budget, but what do you think would be the ideal social team setup for a brand?
Yeah. So now I feel like where the level of which things have gotten to, um, I would say for the longest time, I would look at anyone who worked in social media successfully as being somewhat of a Swiss Army knife, where they could
Mm.
do copywriting, and they could pull together aesthetics, do some design work, maybe some content creation. But as we've seen it go over the years, and we're now
Mhm.
so many younger people are just fully consuming their media within social platforms, it's become that much more important. Every brand has this professional aesthetic to it. So, what I was able to do with my team was bring on this guy named Armand Mitchell, who I cannot sing his praises enough. He is our first ever content creator within the whole Orchestra network, where he just gets to focus on creating
Yeah.
pro photo and video content. And not only can he create and edit his own for our own clients, but sometimes a client might have shot something on site, outside of the city, and then sends it to us. He can beautify everything and then cut it into these separate pieces. So I'd say definitely,
Sure.
it's been beneficial throughout my career that I had that photo background and could always add the
Mm.
still photography aspect for any of our clients. Um, and I would say everyone on my team did a fantastic job of, like, when Instagram Reels became so much more of a
Yeah.
focus, to be able to jump into that with no video background and create some really engaging reel content. It's just gotten to such a level where if you're not well versed in that, it's going to take you so much longer. The platforms are always changing, the formats are always changing. So to
Yeah.
have somebody who can focus on that full time is massive. Um, I would
Yeah.
say secondary to that, it's become so much more of a just an industry where design work is key. And it's fantastic to have platforms now like Canva and Figma, and you don't have to rely on the
Mhm.
Adobe suite anymore. So I feel like more and
Yeah.
more people like doing that work anyways, and are happy to be able to have that as part of their day to day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always just kind of comes down to a bandwidth thing, and a lot of social media managers get very burnt out by having this just nebulous kind of role that requires you
Yeah.
to wear pretty much every hat of a marketing department. So
Yeah.
I feel like being able to segment that to an extent is definitely helpful. I feel like having somebody who is more junior in a community manager role is really key to be able to see switch between all the different accounts of an agency and learn the
Mhm.
nuances of them, and then start to tap into copywriting and pulling together grids and aesthetics. I think
Yeah.
learning from the ground up is really valuable. But I would say too, like um, I initially mentioned is important is just always making sure that the members of the team are still tapped into the various areas of any social platform, to be up to date on it, be able to communicate it to
Mhm.
clients, know what best practices are. So I would say there's kind of a content team that needs to happen, and then the actual kind of manager team, and then some junior support to that, and then definitely
Yeah.
senior support to be able to give that guidance and steer in the right direction, and deal with deal with any
Yeah.
client fires that might come up,
Yes.
and just be that support for the team who is more in it day to day,
Sure.
and be able to advocate for them as well.
Yeah, no, that's really great feedback. Thank you for
Of course.
sharing because it's always something we're looking into as things change. And overnight, it's like, oh, reels, we have to be film directors now. So
Exactly, yeah.
finding all those skill sets. I just have two more questions. So being such a creative, how do you find your inspiration day to day and get into that strategic headspace?
Yeah, that's been just part of, I think, part of my career in general, or just even life interests. I think it's really important to find inspiration outside of the work, because it can become very siloed and funneled towards what you're doing, and then you lose all perspective. I think most of the important ideas and exciting campaigns that have come about have come from outside the social media space and then been translated to it. So anything I would say too, in terms of like content creation, what has inspired me for like looking at our client roster, which is mostly high-end real estate developments and hotels, it's at a different level where we can lean into aesthetics more. So what you might see in a film in terms of like this certain cut of like a Fellini film of like, oh, those shadows
Yes,
look really cool, and then it's like, oh yeah, that will work very well for a reel that we're creating. Um,
sure.
and when I, yeah, kind of throughout my work over the years, like when I worked with restaurant clients, would it was the early days of that social media, and it was for me leaning into my own interests and having just come from the music industry, um, being able to lean more into like pop culture references, I thought
Yeah.
would resonate with anybody. Is um, everyone has to eat, so it's there's
Yeah.
naturally going to be that just inclination and that versatility of being able to talk about life in general when you are dealing with food brands or the restaurant
Sure.
industry, to add that universal appeal. And we've seen so many restaurant accounts lean in that direction. So I think, yeah, being able to look into your day to day life,
Mhm.
and separate it somewhat from work is really important. And something I even like to ask a lot of clients prior to starting with them is asking them in terms of social media, like what accounts might inspire them, and
Mm.
even asking them to go a bit beyond that and open it up to outside of their own particular industry. It could be it could be
Yeah.
Nike doing a campaign, and how it's about the aesthetics and the voice
Yeah.
and the tone of it, and being able to find a way that we could translate that for their brand, I think is incredibly helpful.
Awesome. Very cool. And so anything exciting coming up that you'd like to share? What's next for Alex?
Well, yeah, exciting things on the move. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am moving out of New York City.
All right.
I have lived there now for 16 years, but I'll be close by in New Jersey, but a big change of
Yes.
pace for me.
You're coming over.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not too bad over here. Beaches are really nice.
It's a fantastic place. I feel like it's the best
Yeah.
kept secret around
I
because
know. Shh.
exactly, we got to keep this on the down low. But yeah, big kind of moment for me there. Yeah, just
Awesome.
been nearly 2 decades in the city now, so excited for that move.
Yeah.
And yeah, in terms of the work that we're doing, continuing to grow out that content side of things has been really exciting for me. Um, and like I said, just being able to advocate for, I mean, as you have always known me, I've always been a younger brother, so
Yes.
never really had anybody that I could kind of mentor in a familial sense, but uh,
Sure.
in every work experience I've had, being able to grow and foster a younger team has been really exciting to me. And
Oh.
not only on the social media side, but I've also seen a lot on the photographer and videographer side, where
Mhm.
over the years we grinded out, I think, to survive in New York City, if you're not coming from an extremely privileged place, is to really do your 10,000 hours of
Yeah.
learning from the ground up, taking all different kinds of jobs, and trying to find your niche and speak your visual narrative that much more. So, in terms of being able to expand that offering at Orchestra in general, and based on being able to bring somebody in the door from M18 side last year, and have a full-time content creator is really a pretty dream scenario for me. And yeah, looking ahead to growing that side of things really excites me to,
Yeah.
again, just be able to give people kind of the jobs that I would have jumped at when
Oh,
I was younger in my career. And yeah, finding that opportunity for them and making sure that they feel good about the work that they're doing. And also, I feel like it often, being a creative can be such a grind, and only on a freelance basis where you never
yeah.
know where your next paycheck is coming from. So,
Mm.
um, the ability to give some stability there and help people expand their creativity is huge for me.
Oh, that's amazing, Alex. Thank you for sharing. And we love the orchestra concept. We had Kate Treen from Berlin
Yeah,
Rosen on. Her episode's launching soon, but you have such a great crew over there. I hear the culture is incredible. So we're very fortunate to have you. And I have one last question for
yeah.
your what is the number one tip you would give on how to be the ultimate groupie? Whether it's to your clients or your partners, like what makes you the ultimate brand groupie?
Yeah, I think it's the ability to, um, I think what I have just found in general in life is that being direct is one of the scariest things to most people, and something that we tiptoe around so much of the time. But I have always very much appreciated whenever somebody's given me very direct and open and honest feedback. And I think a lot of times that's what brands are really looking for, is somebody to really tell them straight, like, this is what we're doing and this is why. And I would empower people that are within social media roles to do that more and more, because again, it has kind of fallen down, and you often get treated like the most junior person in the room. But you are an actual expert in what you do. Especially generations that are coming up now that have like really been growing up with social media platforms. You know it better than anyone else, and those who have pursued it professionally can certainly speak to that. And that's where the best ideas come from, is being able to take a risk and have that mutual trust. I've seen a lot of my client wins over the years by just kind of pushing back and telling it
Yeah.
pretty straightforwardly, and to see that react is your just immediate barometer to be able to show any brand or client like, hey, this actually worked, and to allow for that trust to continue and build on that. But I feel like, yeah, oftentimes, I know I was earlier in my career to be a little more tiptoey around things and try and get there. But a lot of times you do need to advocate for yourself and just say, I have a great idea. Let's test it. Definitely like have the backing to show that, but in actually just speaking it out as opposed to sitting back and waiting. Sitting back and waiting is what gets to cringy posts, because then it's like, all right, it's on the back burner for a couple of months, and then it took
Yeah.
huge rounds of approvals to get through. I think being
Yeah.
able to capitalize on the real time moment for social media is really paramount to so much of it. So
Sure.
if you have a great idea, then advocate for it.
Oh, that's such a great answer, Alex. Thank you.
Of
So
course. Thank
good.
you.
Thank you for being a guest. And where can our listeners find you online?
Great. Yeah. My Instagram is just at Alex Stein. My website is alexstein.co. M18PR.com is our site, and you can see some of our client roster on there. And I'm always an open book as well. So my email is just alex at M18PR.com. So anyone can always feel free to reach out.
Oh, well, Alex, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure to catch up. It's like a full circle moment, and just so proud to have known you and watched your career journey and your success. So
Yeah,
thank you again.
thank you so much. And yeah, no, I I owe it all to you for making that initial
Oh no.
intro to Amy. And yeah, it was really huge for me as a young person, scared of graduating college and not knowing where he wanted to go in the industry, to be pointed in the right direction. You pointed me in such a beautiful one that, yeah, my life would be totally different without you. So I
Oh,
really, really appreciate
you
it.
deserve it.
Thank you.
Oh, big hugs.
Thanks, Gary.